Ghostbusters was never supposed to be a sure thing. In fact, by Hollywood logic, it should have failed spectacularly. A comedy about ghosts that wasn't for kids, a horror film that refused to take itself seriously, a blockbuster built on improvisation, exhausted actors, unfinished effects, and a script that changed constantly under pressure. Studios don't like movies like that. Studios like control. But Ghostbusters was born from chaos, and that chaos became its greatest weapon. In 1984, while Hollywood was busy chasing formulas, this strange little film trusted instinct, personality, and risk. It treated New York like a living organism, let comedians drive the spectacle, and turned the supernatural into a blue-collar business. What audiences felt instantly was something executives rarely predict: authenticity. And the closer you look behind the scenes, the clearer it becomes every creative gamble, every mistake, every last-minute decision directly caused the film's success. To understand why Ghostbusters still refuses to die, you first have to see how close it came to collapsing completely. 1. The movie that should have collapsed and didn't. Ghostbusters worked precisely because it violated nearly every rule Hollywood relied on in 1984. It wasn't a clean comedy. It wasn't a straight horror film. It wasn't designed around a proven formula. Instead, it existed in a dangerous middle ground where tone could have snapped at any moment. What held it together was not planning, but instinct. Scenes were rewritten on the fly. Performances were shaped in the moment. Effects were unfinished, well into post-production. From a studio perspective, this was a nightmare. From a creative perspective, it was oxygen. The film trusted that personality could stabilize chaos, that if the characters felt real, the audience would follow them anywhere. This decision caused everything that followed: the improvisation, the grounding in New York, the willingness to let comedy coexist with real danger. Ghostbusters didn't succeed because it was controlled. It succeeded because it was allowed to breathe. And that single choice, trusting instinct over certainty, became the foundation for every creative risk that followed. 2. Bill Murray turned improvisation into structure. Bill Murray didn't decorate Ghostbusters with ad-libs. He rebuilt its internal rhythm. The script provided direction, but Murray provided gravity. His improvisation wasn't random, it was character logic in motion. Peter Venkman treats supernatural apocalypse the same way he treats authority, with amused defiance. That attitude reframed the film's entire tone. Horror became survivable because Venkman refused to acknowledge it as dominant. This caused a critical shift. Instead of the audience asking, "Will they survive?" they asked, "How will they survive this one?" That distinction matters. It turned fear into momentum. It also forced the rest of the cast to recalibrate their performances, grounding their reactions so Murray's chaos wouldn't tip into parody. The result was balance. Improvisation didn't weaken structure, it created it. Ghostbusters became a film where unpredictability felt intentional, not sloppy. And once that tone locked in, the movie could absorb almost any absurdity without breaking credibility. 3. Grounding the story in New York saved the film. The decision to move Ghostbusters out of a futuristic, interdimensional setting and into present-day New York didn't just reduce the budget, it clarified the story's soul. By placing the supernatural inside a recognizable urban system, the film gained friction. Ghosts weren't abstract threats. They were public nuisances. The heroes weren't chosen saviors. They were small business operators navigating rent, permits, and skeptical clients. This shift caused a powerful effect. Scale became funnier because it was human. The city didn't react with awe, it reacted with irritation, disbelief, and eventually acceptance. That realism anchored the fantasy. New York's noise, indifference, and unpredictability gave the film texture no soundstage could replicate. The city wasn't a backdrop, it was a pressure system constantly testing the characters. This grounding allowed the film to escalate into absurd spectacle without losing credibility. The more supernatural the threat became, the more relatable the response felt. That contrast is the film's secret engine. 4. Real belief made fake mythology feel ancient. Ghostbusters sounds confident when it talks about the paranormal because it never winks at its own mythology. The film doesn't explain ghosts, it assumes them. That confidence came from genuine belief systems woven into the script. The invented lore, ancient gods, gatekeepers, rituals, felt legitimate because it was delivered with conviction, not irony. This caused the audience to accept rules without questioning origins. Belief replaced exposition. Once the world felt internally consistent, the comedy could operate freely inside it. Jokes landed because the stakes were sincere. The film respected the supernatural, even while mocking human reactions to it. That balance is rare. Most genre hybrids fail because they undermine their own rules. Ghostbusters never did. It treated belief as texture, not punchline. And because the mythology felt older than the film itself, the story gained weight. Audiences weren't watching a gimmick, they were stepping into a system that already existed. 5. Horror had to be pulled back to let comedy survive. Early test screenings revealed a hard truth. Fear can overpower humor if left unchecked. The original opening ghost terrified audiences into silence. That reaction forced a recalibration. The filmmakers learned that Ghostbusters didn't need less horror. It needed controlled horror. Scares had to be sharp, brief, and recoverable. This caused a tonal contract to form between film and audience. You will be frightened, but never abandoned. Once that trust was established, the movie could push boundaries safely. Jump scares became punctuation, not dominance. Visual terror existed to be punctured by character response. This discipline shaped the entire film. Every frightening moment was balanced by reaction, timing, or release. The result was a rhythm that allowed viewers to enjoy fear without dread. Ghostbusters didn't remove danger, it managed it. And that management became the blueprint for decades of horror comedy that followed. 6. Physical discomfort made the heroes feel human. The Ghostbusters look exhausted because they were. Heavy equipment, long shoots, real locations, none of it was comfortable. That discomfort translated directly to the screen. The characters don't move like superheroes. They trudge, adjust straps, complain, and recover. This physical realism caused an emotional shift. The audience didn't see idealized figures, they saw workers, professionals under strain. That relatability grounded the fantasy more effectively than dialogue ever could. When the supernatural escalated, the physical cost made it believable. The heroes earned their victories through endurance, not elegance. This was crucial for an older audience who understood labor, fatigue, and responsibility. The film respected effort, and that respect made the triumphs feel earned rather than inevitable. 7. Losing one character's arc strengthened the group. Stripped of his original backstory and technical expertise, Winston Zeddemore quietly became the film's most grounding presence. Studio decisions reduced him from a highly trained specialist to something far simpler, but that subtraction proved invaluable. Winston doesn't enter the story through destiny or belief, he enters through necessity. He needs a job, not a calling. That practical motivation reshapes the team's dynamic. What had been 4 eccentric experts becomes 3 true believers and 1 clear-eyed realist. Winston asks the questions the audience would ask and reacts the way a normal person would when faced with the impossible. His skepticism makes the supernatural feel more dangerous and the heroes more human. By losing narrative complexity, the film gained emotional balance and a character audiences instinctively trusted. 8. The theme song turned marketing into myth. The film's music didn't just promote the movie, it completed it. The theme song distilled the premise into a question anyone could answer. That simplicity caused saturation. Radio, television, word of mouth, the song carried the film into public consciousness faster than advertising ever could. Legal disputes later underscored how powerful that simplicity was. The melody, rhythm, and repetition weren't accidental. They mirrored the film's philosophy, accessibility without stupidity. The song didn't explain the plot, it invited participation, and that invitation made the film feel communal. People didn't just watch Ghostbusters, they joined it. 9. The film endured because it trusted people, not systems. The final truth of Ghostbusters is this: it outlived its era because it was never designed by committee logic. It trusted performers, audiences, and instinct more than projections or safeguards. That trust caused risk. Risk caused personality. Personality caused longevity. The film didn't chase timelessness, it achieved it by accident. And that is the enduring lesson. Movies last, not because they are engineered to survive, but because they are allowed to live. Ghostbusters remains relevant because it feels alive, messy, human, and confident enough to let imperfection show. That courage is rare now, and that's exactly why the film still matters. Ghostbusters endures not because it was flawless, but because it was fearless. It proved that audiences don't connect with perfection, they connect with personality. The film's legacy isn't its effects, its catchphrases, or even its sequels. Its real contribution to Hollywood was the reminder that trust still matters. Trust in actors, trust in instinct, and trust in viewers to follow a story that doesn't hold their hand. In an industry now obsessed with safety, Ghostbusters stands as evidence that risk, when guided by intelligence and discipline, can create something timeless. The lesson is simple but uncomfortable. Creativity thrives when control loosens. And that's why this film still feels alive decades later. If this deep dive brought back memories or made you see Ghostbusters differently, drop a comment with your favorite moment or behind-the-scenes fact. Like the video if you value stories from Hollywood's risk-taking era, and subscribe to the channel for more thoughtful breakdowns of the films that shaped us.